Hey, listen to Wrestling Roundup on FreeFM, ArrowFM, and MP. As always, I'm Grady, and live on Skype we got Josh.
Hey!
Some big matches this past weekend that we're gonna talk about. I guess we can talk about the pre-show, but it's probably one of the least important ones. Sami Zayn popped in, defeated JD McDonough. I guess it overall sets up our Survivor Series War Games matchup that we'll be getting to throughout the course of the night.
Absolutely. It's an incidental match, which is why it ended up on the pre-show. But it was another moment for Sami Zayn in front of that crowd. Something before last year we would have never thought would have even been possible. And it's just, it furthers the storyline. It continues to prove that JD McDonough is the wink link in Judgment Day.
Even though he's
barely
not
technically a part of it.
And it wasn't Sami Zayn's only appearance either. He also appeared after that opening World Heavyweight Championship match to again interact with the Judgment Day and stop Damian Priest from cashing in. So Sami having a pretty eventful night.
Yep. It was one of those. The entire thing flowed throughout the entire show. Storyline that as far as Raw went, because you had Sami at the pre-show, then you had the World Championship match, which then had a segment in after it that involved the Judgment Day and Sami Zayn, and then you flow on down through the show. Then you have Rhea and the Women's Championship, and then you had at the end Cody Rhodes and Damian Priest.
Yeah. And then, as you flow on onto Raw this week as well, it just continues. The purple wave keeps rolling through. But let's talk about that World Heavyweight Championship match. It was Seth Rollins, it was Drew McIntyre, and Seth comes out on top.
Yep, he survived yet another challenge. And this one, I think, might have broken Drew McIntyre.
He was definitely sad backstage.
Yeah. And there's definitely rumors, an innuendo of that he just re-signed with WWE for a multi-year contract. So they definitely have plans with him, and it's definitely, I think this is when we look back in a few months or something, this will be the point when we say that's when his turn started. I still think that they could still maybe add him to the War Games match, and maybe that's how he turns. But yeah, it's definitely, there's some character development changing. It is sad that Drew had his moments for his world title reigns in front of no one.
Yeah.
And he's not been able to get that in front of a crowd moment.
Yeah, I think that was a massive part for the build for this match, and if anything, it was, I guess, like the one part that was giving you sympathy for Drew coming into this, and you're like, maybe Drew does deserve this, maybe they are gonna give it to him, but ultimately it is the fighting champion Seth Rollins that comes out on top, and every match he wins, he's getting more and more hurt, he's getting more and more involved, and it's one of those ones where, every match he has will be saying, this is his toughest match yet, as it just gets harder and harder and harder.
Yeah, I really don't know what Seth's plans are. Personally, if it was me, I'd have it be Gunther, as I predicted, down the road, but
that's a little while
Seth
away. 5 months?
Yeah. Seth could absolutely lose his world title after War Games.
Yeah.
Not to say that I don't think that it would make a lot of sense, because I don't think Damian Priest would be at a 100% either. But it could happen. There's no stipulation says that it can't. But I think I really think that's that briefcase. I think it's going to play heavily into the other world title storyline.
Okay.
Because I really think that it could begin to be the element that gets us to Roman Cody, too.
All right. Well, let's get there, because I think throughout the show, it's like you could split it down the middle almost. You know, you've got your Bloodline side of things, and you got your Judgment Day side of things. Couple things here and there that don't necessarily fit into them, but we'll flow through the show. Let's talk about the Women's World Championship match. Rhea Ripley defending her title in that Fatal 5-Way. Her opponents, Nia Jax, Raquel Rodriguez, Shayna Baszler, and Zoe Stark, comes out on top and gets herself a new number one contender on Raw as well.
Yeah. And it was and it wasn't exactly a win of her own volition.
Mm-hmm.
She took advantage of a situation in the ring and then pinned somebody. But, yeah. It was a fine match for what it was. It's a 5-person match. Those aren't always chaotic. And then they did a battle royal on Raw for number one contender, and of all the people that was in the match, it's Zoe Stark.
Yeah, you know, when we looked at this Fatal 5-Way, we were like, maybe Nia, maybe, you know, we just did the feud with Raquel, maybe Shayna Baszler. Oh yeah, and Zoe Stark's there too. They're putting their eggs in that basket. Ripley Stark one-on-one.
Yeah, it just goes to show that they're buying time because, yeah, the obvious thing is eventual Becky, Rhea. Regardless of what the outcome of that match is, I feel like that's where we're going.
Yeah, and with Seth holding the World Heavyweight Championship, potentially some stuff with that as well. If Becky reunites, feels like the wrong word. Works with him again. Judgment Day are obviously Judgment Day. They're rolling through everything, but there was one more Judgment Day match still on last weekend that we got to talk about. Cody Rhodes, Damian Priest, with Rhodesy Boy coming out on top.
Yeah. None of that big of a surprise. As much as I like Damian Priest, I didn't see him beating Cody here. But this could be one of Cody's infinite, the way that Cody always seems to get a feud every year that's in threes. Or multiple ones. So it could possibly be the beginning where it's like, this was round one. Obviously, it's round two might come after War Games. And that one may end up being for the briefcase, which I'm really was shocked that this one was not for it. Because I really think it's going to come down to, at some point after that, after War Games, Cody's going to go, all right, you've been a thorn in our side. I have an idea. You, me, TLC on like the first Raw of the new year for your briefcase.
Yeah. Can definitely see some sort of shifty stuff coming on. We do know, you know, Cody Rhodes, Roman Reigns is our eventual end goal. How do we get there being the big question. Money in the Bank briefcase is one of the easiest ways to jump brands, especially without a back-to-back Rumble win. So we'll have to wait and see. Damian Priest obviously not physically in control of it last weekend. Makes it a little bit harder to cash in. But it is for sure going to feature quite heavily. And this is a good time to jump over to that men's War Games match that we just got announced. It will be Seth Rollins, Cody Rhodes, Jey Uso, and Sami Zayn taking on all three members of the Judgment Day and JD McDonough.
Yeah. Which should be a phenomenal match. As we said, they could always add in Drew and then find somebody to pair with them with the Judgment Day. Maybe they'll do Drew on the face side, and then they'll throw in Jimmy. So we can get a moment of the Usos staring at each other and fighting, but not really fighting the way we want them to.
Yeah, we did think there was going to be a little bit of bloodline in this match, and they've gone instead for the 4v4 option.
Yeah. Which is fine. It's definitely, if you've been watching SmackDown, there have definitely been moments of Jimmy just absolutely driving Roman crazy. Because he's just with the stuff that he's been doing backstage. So I could see them like, all right, you worked with us earlier in the year. Here's our help for you. You get Jimmy, and we keep our end of the bargain with that, and then we go on our separate ways. But it's definitely just, there's so many nuances with both these storylines, really, that engulf the entire shows.
Yeah, and there's not enough time for us, I think, to tackle the bloodline stuff before going to our entrance theme, so I'm going to put a peg in it, or put a pin in it, and we'll come back to it after the song. But one thing to talk about before we go, United States Championship, we have ourselves a brand new champion.
Much to the surprise of, well, I'd say about 20% because of people. Because I think Logan Paul was almost always walking out of this event with that title.
Whether I wanted him to or not.
Yeah. And it makes all the sense in the world. I know that I was in a group that were just saying he's only in wrestling because he has money. I'm like, he's put in the work. It doesn't matter why he's there. He's there. And he's doing it well. Plus, I just can't wait to see all the promos and stuff that he gets to cut as just this over-the-top, arrogant, egotistical a-hole that we all know he truly is.
Yeah. It's really hard, because usually I'd sit here and say, like, Logan Paul, hate him. Horrible human being. Insert wrestling name, great wrestler. He wrestles under the same name, makes it a little bit harder. So I guess Logan Paul, the man behind the thing, horrible person. Doesn't have a lot of nice things to say about him. Logan Paul, the professional wrestler, the sports entertainer, he's done pretty good in the, 7 matches he's had. Mm-hmm. All being pretty much bangers.
Whoever does beat him for that title is going to get a huge boost out of it. Just because of how many people hate Logan Paul.
Perfect spot for LA Knight.
Yeah.
Which we'll discuss how his weekend went after the song, which is none other than our new United States champion, Logan Paul, and that's playing for you right about now. And you're back to Wrestling Roundup on FreeFM, ArrowFM, and NPR. I'm Grady, he's Josh. Bloodline. Let's start with the first Bloodline match of the night. Solo Sikoa, John Cena. Maybe Cena knew something was up with the actors' strike. Maybe he knew he was going to get called back soon. But all I know for certain is that he took almost 2 digits of spikes.
Yeah, he definitely got destroyed in this match, which I think was the whole purpose. And it's possible that it could have been entirely consequential. And it just may have been, this is just when he agreed to walk away from this run. But he definitely put the heck over Solo Sikoa. And I'm starting to wonder if maybe that's something to maybe split Solo off from the Bloodline.
Solo going solo?
Possibly. I mean, it could become a situation where Solo just becomes too big of a monster for even Roman to contain. Because that's basically what they just said. Hey, this guy just just decimated the quote-unquote greatest of all time.
You gotta feel a little threatened if you're Roman Reigns.
Yeah.
I still think I said, I don't know how long ago, or even if it was on the show or just typing around, but could definitely see when Roman Reigns' title run cuts short, Solo Sikoa just going pure off the leash with a Paul Heyman alongside him for sure as, your next Brock Lesnar kind of guy, and Roman Reigns fading off, because I assume once he loses the title, he'll take a bit of a break. And, Jimmy will be busy with Jay, and everybody in the bloodline can just go about in their things, but the day that Solo Sikoa gets off that leash, I'd be very scared to be on the WWE roster.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, John Cena was, at this point, technically not wrong with his assessment of Solo Sikoa on SmackDown this past week, which was taped 2 weeks ago, by the way. In calling him a bargain basement ripoff of Taz. And who knew Taz better than Paul Heyman? I could definitely see him snaking his way to being the mouthpiece for Solo.
Look, Paul Heyman hangs out with the winners. If you ain't winning, he doesn't hang out with you anymore. And if you are the new hottest commodity, he'll find his way to attach to you like a barnacle. And, if Solo's stock rises and Roman's drops through the floor, I don't know if he'll stick around. But we are talking about Roman sort of in the past tense. I guess we're kind of expecting him down the line to lose that title, potentially at WrestleMania. But when it came to last weekend, he did manage to hold on to the title against LA Knight, pretty much as I would say 99% of people predicted.
Yeah, it was to be expected, as you said. LA Knight is, insane. So this definitely helped, legitimize him a bit. It's just a case of, I definitely did not want this match now. I think, had this match happened a year from now, I think there's an extremely likely chance he could have walked out with the Universal Championship. Because he would have had that year to build up credibility to it. But it was phenomenal, and he's still on his trajectory up, regardless of what people may think. And I think he is the guy to beat Logan Paul at WrestleMania for that title.
It looks pretty well set up, you got a hot babyface in LA Knight who loves to get on the microphone, and you got the most arrogant, punchable face heel champion holding that title. WrestleMania or before, there is a collision course there.
Yeah, you say that. I'm not so sure that his buddy Dominic is the most punchable heel in the company with the title.
Look, just line up Dominic, Logan Paul, Austin Theory. Just get them all there, and I'll just take a shot at each of them. They're all
Grayson
pretty.
Waller.
And Grayson.
And then you have 4 faces, 1 punch.
Line them up. I'll just run down the line.
Yeah, this... I think he'll be fine. I really think he'll be the guy that wins the briefcase next year. And I could see him cashing in on a world champion by 3 months later. But he's definitely on his way. He's on the right direction. And so I don't think this hurt him at all. And we probably will be without Roman for the foreseeable future.
He'll show up again at some point when we most need him. I don't know when he'll show up, but he'll just pop up randomly. I can't even guarantee you that he'll pop up before WrestleMania.
Yeah, I think he'll probably he currently has, as far as I know of, no current announced appearances for the rest of the year.
Hmm.
So I think he'll come back on maybe the first Raw of the or the SmackDown of the new year to start hyping up a match at the Royal Rumble. And then depending on where they go from there, depends on depends on if he has a match at WrestleMania or not.
Hmm.
Because as much as I liked the idea of maybe the briefcase changing hands for Cody, making that the way he gets it, I've also been on this kick of maybe they could do it at the Royal Rumble somehow. But and then there's also the Elimination Chamber, which pay-per-view in Australia.
Woo.
And they could somehow work that into a number one contendership match in the Elimination Chamber match that Cody Rhodes somehow wins.
I've always loved having the Royal Rumble determine, you get your first pick of World Championship you want to go for, and then whichever one doesn't, or you don't pick, that is a number one contendership Elimination Chamber. In my head, that's the greatest combination of pay-per-views. And really, reinforces that road to WrestleMania piece.
Yeah. Which having two world titles again allows for. As long as it was unified with Roman, that eliminated that pathway for you.
Yeah.
Because the Rumble winner isn't going to choose anybody other than Roman. Because it doesn't make any sense. Because what you get out of the match is a world title match. Which means if you don't choose Roman, you're choosing the NXT champion. Because that's the only other world title on the rosters.
Not unheard of, but unlikely.
Yeah. That only occurred for Charlotte. Because it kind of brought Rhea to the main roster. Which is the whole reason for it, ultimately. But yeah, it doesn't make any sense when you win the most important match of the year to go to NXT over a world title to main event WrestleMania.
Yeah. Well, running out of time, got one last match from this weekend to talk about. Iyo Sky successfully defending her WWE Women's Championship against Bianca Belair, not necessarily with the help of Bayley, but with the help of a different old friend.
Yeah. What we've been calling for months has finally happened. Kairi Sane finally re-debuted and helped Iyo, and now it looks like rumors have it that more people are going to be joining forces with Iyo, which I think leads us towards Damage Control exploding.
I think for certain if she's building her own little, Joshi stable.
Yeah. Oh, wouldn't it be interesting if one of the rumored people is Sasha Banks?
Yeah. It would work pretty well against Bayley for sure.
Because one of the rumors is that she's going to get two people, one of which not even she will expect. And that could be the one that not even she would expect.
Yeah, we got rumors of Saray before she got signed to a different promotion. We got rumors of Julia from Stardom, coming through after her contract wraps up. I think it's March next year. There's quite a bit of floating around in that Japanese woman space right now.
I know she's not Japanese, but there is a woman on the main roster right now that I would like to see join it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's Xia Li.
A little busy in NXT right now, but we'll see.
Yeah. Because I think that would be... Because I think she could be the enforcer of Io's group. And it would be believable, because...
She's pretty scary.
She is scary. Jinx.
Now you gotta finish the show on your own now. You jinxed me.
Well... And Bianca was not hurt by this at all, and I think it furthers her storyline.
Heel
I know
turn.
we've
Heel turn.
yeah, we talked about maybe putting her with the Street Profits and Bobby Lashley, and then on SmackDown last week they did a segment of BFAB approaching them, and now I don't know what they're going to do anymore.
Well, as we always say, we're gonna have to wait and see. And that's all we got time for this week. It's been great talking to you.
Baby.
You can visit our Facebook page, facebook.com/wrestling R&D upper, our Twitter page, twitter.com/wrestling R&D upper, our YouTube page, youtube.com/wrestling R&D up. And we'll see you next week, where I promise we'll get to talk about the stuff happening on NXT.